Welcome to SGM Islam.
My name is Alma Campos. I am a Mexican-American convert. I was born and raised here in Chicago, so I've lived here pretty much all of my life. I am the daughter of an immigrant family, so I'm the firstborn, only girl in my home. And I accepted Islam I can't even tell you exactly, but it's about 25 years now. It's been a while since I've been a Muslim. So currently I am the director of admissions at an Islamic school, and I am also a co-founder of Ojalá Foundation, the Latino Muslims of Chicago, which that has really been my passion, this organization.
She was born and raised in the United States, surrounded by the familiar comforts of American culture. But despite her seemingly idyllic life, she felt an unshakable sense of emptiness within. It wasn't until she discovered Islam that she finally found the peace and purpose she had been searching for.
This is what I was, but religiously, we never really followed Catholicism in my home. And I remember just thinking back to my childhood, and you just brought this memory to my mind. When I was little, I must have been maybe 4 or 5. I don't even remember how old I was, but my mom would always say, like, God is watching you, God is watching you. And we had this picture of, it was a hologram of Jesus in the house, and I was really scared of this hologram because I would move around and this picture would always follow me, so I was really scared of this image. But yeah, so we were raised as Catholics. And so I remember being raised just with the idea of God and never fully understanding the concept of Jesus, but just feeling like I have to believe in him. He's part of this, but it never really made sense to me. So as I was growing up, sometimes I would go to church, and I have to be honest, I never really gave the Catholic religion a lot of study, not until I became a Muslim. I think when I became a Muslim is when, not even became a Muslim. I think when I started studying Islam and really questioning a lot of these things, I started to focus a lot on what does Catholicism teach us? What is this that I am feeling like that I'm rejecting in terms of a belief system? So I started to study that more when I started studying Islam. A conscious adult. I was actually a teenager. I was in high school. I think I was a freshman in high school. So my parents had put me into an all-girls Catholic high school. And my community school was not a very good school, so they said, okay, you're going to go to this all-girls Catholic high school. And during our time in the school, we had to attend Mass. And one of the things that you do during Mass is you do the sign of the cross. During Mass, the person sitting next to me didn't do the sign of the cross. And I was just thinking, why did she not do this? So I don't know what led up to it, but I had just realized that doing the sign of the cross always brought something bad. Like something bad simply would happen. And I don't really remember what they were, but I just kept feeling it doesn't leave me with this good feeling, or something maybe small and irrelevant. But for me, it was impactful enough to say, this is not right. I shouldn't be doing it for myself. For me, it was like, no, don't do it, please. And I didn't understand why. But when we were at Mass and this person didn't do it, I remember feeling like, oh my God, what is this? This is so strange. Why isn't she doing the sign of the cross? What does this person believe in? And that started a conversation, and she started to explain that she was Muslim. Now, at that time, we're talking like 20 plus years ago, right? She was not wearing hijab. She was not very practicing. There was nothing that would show me that she was different from any of us. But that conversation opened up my eyes to there's other religions out there. And she ended up to be one of my best friends while we were in high school. And we would have some very deep conversations about religion. And she started to introduce the things that she believed in. She would start to talk to me about the oneness of God. The position that Jesus has within this religion. And we would talk about the afterlife, which was a curiosity that I had had since forever. We would talk about, the creation of the world. And we would talk about different prophetic stories. And that was a big one, different prophetic stories. Because the way that she presented any prophetic story, it was so clean and so pure. And it was just a beautiful story. Something that you would say, oh, I could look up to this person. And I started to realize that innately, the things that I had believed in since I was a child really fell into the things that she was telling me. And again, I didn't really study the Bible, but when you're a teenager, you want to take the things that are going to be like contradicting. What is it going to, anything that felt that was going to be a contradiction or something that you could question, that would stick out in your mind. And I remember hearing some of the stories and the way they were presented about some of these prophets and just feeling like, wow, but if that was a prophet, those things are pretty deep, to paint them in that light. Is it true? Is it not true? Why would they be chosen if that was a truth? And if they're here to guide us, why were they really sent here? What was this message they were trying to share with us? It was a lot of those questions that I had. Yeah. But the biggest question for me, the big one, was God, the concept of God. Like all of these little things, they were important, but not as important as God. And I always told the concept of God in Islam, for me, it was so powerful to know that everything I had believed in, just naturally believed in, had a place. When I was a child, it was like, this is how I believe, but this is what we are. And it doesn't fit. It doesn't go with this. But I have to still be Catholic. But it just never fit. So it took me to a place where I understood that there's more that I have to study and learn and whatnot, because this wasn't the only option that we had, or the only option that existed, I should say. I was just trying to be part of the group because of the family I was born into, my cultural background and stuff like that. So I never thought that this was my journey. You're just living life. You're just a kid. And those conversations slowly but surely led me to learn a little bit more. I wanted to find out and discover a little bit more. And it was a long journey for me. I wasn't someone who, like, mashallah, they hear and they take shahada. This is amazing. For me, it was a lot of questioning and investigating and confirming for myself. What is true? What is not true? How did the Bible get put together? What happened here? Where is the disconnect? Oh, now the Bible is making sense because the Qur'an made sense and put this piece together for me. And, but at the end, I always kept coming back to Islam and what I was learning. And as a young kid, because again, I was in high school. So life just takes you in different directions. And I kept finding myself thinking, well, again, I'm Mexican. I was born into my beautiful family. This is who we are. That's who you are. So it's great. It's beautiful. I respect it. I believe it, but this is for you guys. This is us. My mind was kind of closing that option of having that be something for me. I don't know why, but it just was closing that as an option for me. And that happened for many years. So when I got into college and you're in college, you're just being young again, I found myself always revisiting this idea of Islam. I found myself defending Islam, defending the Muslims. And when people would say negative things about it, I would say, like, wait a second, hold on. Have you met any Muslims? Have you read the Quran? Do you know anything about this? But again, I didn't know that it would ever be for me. I can't say that there was one determining moment where I discovered or where I said to myself, this is the truth. I think it was a journey for me. So for me, I was discovering myself. I was growing. You're at that time in your life because I was, a teenager in my early 20s during that time. And you're growing, you're trying to find yourself, who you are and this and that. And at the same time, I was discovering this beautiful religion. And without even consciously being aware, I was falling in love with this religion. And it's something I didn't know. I found myself studying it and I realized at one point that it's been penetrating in my heart. And it wasn't one thing that happened and I said, oh, this is the truth. It was by the time I realized I was in love with this Islam. This is my journey, how it happened with me. Becoming Muslim after many years of studying it on my own, I was pretty private about the way that I was studying Islam. I had a lot of Muslim friends who were not practicing, and one thing that I really respected about them is that even though they were not practicing, they were very clear about saying what is right and what is wrong within their religion. They wouldn't try to justify any mistakes that they were making. And this, for me, I was like, I really respect that. I respect that they're so firm on what they believe, even if it's against themselves. So for me, I was impressed by that. And I would study it a lot on my own. I was reading the Quran and reading whatever I could get my hands on privately. Again, it was like a very personal journey for me. And it wasn't a journey that I thought was going to lead me to be a Muslim. It was a journey of something I was just interested in at the time. So what happened was one night I was sleeping and I remember just getting this anxiety about where did I place my Quran? And it was strange because I don't get anxiety like that, but I was just wondering, where did I place this Quran? And it was half in English, half in Arabic. But for me, it was a holy book. I realized, like, this is a holy book. And I remember that it was placed in a box and those boxes were in the basement. So I just felt this urge, like, I have to go and dig it out. It can't be there, just out of respect, whatever it was, I don't know. And in the middle of the night, I went to the basement. I started going through all these boxes. I pulled this Qur'an and I brought it upstairs. Then I said, maybe it's time for me to start finding some more information, finding a class or something, just to revisit this idea of Islam. And I coordinated with a friend of mine to go to the masjid. It was a Saturday or Sunday morning. We said we're going to go to the masjid. So that morning, subhanallah, like if anything was ever going to change my life, it was that day. So that morning, we step into the masjid, and there was a man that was there. I don't know who he is, but I always make so much dua for this person because I believe he has passed on. But we just asked him, I'm looking for some classes, anything. Do you have something to learn about Islam? And we started a conversation, and he started asking me, what do I know about Islam? So I started to tell him I've been studying it for a while. I've been fasting now for a couple of years. I mean, my way, right? It wasn't the best way, but I was trying to fast. And I had already by that time stopped eating pork. I had stopped anything that had alcohol in it. And so I was implementing all of these little things as I was learning just because they made sense to me. It seemed like the right thing to do and I would do it. So then he started asking me the articles of faith. He started asking me, do you believe in the one God? Do you believe that Jesus is a prophet? Do you believe in Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And I kept answering yes to everything. And so that's when he asked me, why haven't I took Shahada? And again, this is the first time that I recall or that I accepted this question from somebody. And I didn't know why. And so then he pretty much told me something that remained with me till this day, is something that I tell people. We don't know what tomorrow might bring. We don't know what could happen to us once we leave this room. If you believe, and this isn't like saying I agree with what Islam says or I think that this is part of the Muslim faith. If this is what you believe, then to not declare the Shahada is denying your creator, right? So immediately I understood, wow, I believe in this. Like, it's in my heart. I know that I believe this. And to not do it is to say, like, I'm rejecting my creator. I'm rejecting God. And that was very powerful for me. Like, I felt I couldn't do that. I think in that moment, I fully understood that what I was going to do and this journey didn't involve anybody else. It was not about any other person. It was me and God, my creator, Allah, and this contract that I was about to sign with him, this agreement, this testification that I was saying, it was for him. It was me telling him, I believe in you. I believe in you, and you've led me in this journey and led me to this moment, and I don't have a choice. So I went and I took my Shahada, and it was a beautiful moment that I didn't really value until much later. And that's when my journey began as a Muslim.